constructing scatter plots. That literally means putting them together. I know, it's crazy. Jared's basketball team stood at various distances from the basketball hoop and counted the number of baskets they were able to make in 30 seconds. Use the data to make a scatter plot. So the thing on the bottom is distance. The thing on the right, or left, I'm sorry, is baskets made. So distance and baskets made. Jared made how many baskets at 15 feet? 2. So I'm going to go to 15, and I'm going to go to 2, and I'm going to put a dot. In 30 seconds, that's not very good, I don't think. Mark is much better. I would not put Jared in at that point.
Yep.
Tyrell was 45 feet away, and he made 2. That's exceptional, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. 45 feet, two baskets in 30 seconds is pretty good.
So we got Steph and Shaquille O'Neal.
That was a pretty good reference. Anthony at 30 feet makes 5.
Nice.
We've got Mark at 15 feet with 9. CJ made 1
Okay. So
at 40 feet. Kevin is actually also pretty good. 4 at 30 feet.
Dang, Kevin.
Wade made 10 at 10 feet he made 10. Kyle at 35 feet made 3. Chris at 10 feet made 8. And then Tim at 35 feet made 5. Okay? So that's our, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 data points, okay, for our little plot here. Okay, what kind of association do you see? The thing we did yesterday, positive, negative, none? I would argue that there might be a negative association.
Yeah, I can see, but there's just one that's like.
Yeah, so there's this one that's kind of off. Now, if you look at question number 2, it says, are there any points that don't fit the overall trend of the data? So, which point was that?
2 and 15 and 2.
This one right here. So, Jared, he said noob.
We might need to get a personal trainer.
Okay, and why? Because it's way outside of that line. Okay, it's way outside of that line. And so describe any unique observations about the shape of the graph. Is there anything interesting or unique? I mean, it is just a line, basically. Okay. So which of these is true, or which of these, sorry, not which of, but use true or false for these two statements. As the distance from the hoop increases, the number of baskets decreases. True or false?
True.
So the further
I
away
argue
you are,
false.
the less you make seems true. As the distance decreases, the baskets increase.
That's just a one.
That's
clicky-
also true.
Yes.
clicky ding.
What? What are you saying?
Oh, we
Oh,
were
no, I was
saying.
just talking to him.
We were saying that. Wait, what were we even
I
saying?
said that I could argue false because it said Jared made 2 from 15 and
Yeah,
Tyrone made 2 from 15.
But 2 is the
It's
outlier.
Tyrone, not Tyrone.
I said Tyrone.
I swear
Okay.
you said Tyrone.
So Jaden was saying that maybe we could make an argument for false for A, but we have to remember Jared is an outlier. Jared is not.
Yeah.
He is yeah. At this point, maybe he shouldn't be if everyone else is doing so much better than him.
The center.
Okay, so an outlier is a point that does not fit the overall trend Overall shape of a graph. Or you could say pattern.
I see you got really good at typing on here. Or writing.
I don't
You
know.
write better than I do on paper.
Okay. And so we already answered this question with Jared. Okay. And then the next is clustering, when there are distinct or separate groups of points. So in the data up here, are there any groups of points?
Yes, there is.
Okay, we have a group up here, and a group here, and maybe there might be a group there if we kept doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few different groups. So we could say maybe low point, low point, high distance was one. You could also say high points and low distance. So these things are negatively associated. Correlation, association are really similar. Okay. So once you're done writing that down, I want you to go to the back side and I want you to try number 5.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So do it on your own, okay? Do it on your own first, and then we'll come back together and try to answer it.
Man, this is confusing. I'm gonna be on this for sure.
So first thing you should do is just plot the points, right? Is there anything you notice about how the points should be plotted?
Do you have to round it up?
It's not rounding.
No.
It's that the population is in thousands at the bottom. So the first one, 76,000, would just be 76 on the bottom graph. So I'll go ahead and plot points as well, just to kind of save time. And it doesn't have to be 100% accurate because that would be really hard.
What music is this?
It's just piano music.
There's only one that's on an actual point out of all of those.
Yeah.
And try to answer the questions. Yeah, clustering just means a group of things. Okay, so if we describe any association, it looks like we could do what with this? We could probably have some sort of line that kind of goes like that. Okay, so what kind of association would that be?
Positive.
Positive association. So the higher the population, the more elementary schools. It seems like that makes sense. So the higher the population, the higher the elementary schools or number of schools. Does it seem like there is an outlier on the graph?
Yes.
Here, it doesn't seem to fit the data. So another way of looking at an outlier is a data point that doesn't fit the rest of the data. And so that's what, 20,000
18.
and 18. And it's because the 18 value is much higher than all of the other number of elementary schools per 1,000 people. Okay, so it is basically higher because, an outlier because it has a much higher density of elementary schools. We could say that. Are there any clustering? Is there any clustering?
Kind of.
Kind of, where?
Around like 70, 20-ish.
So those 4 or 5 points up there might be a cluster because there's a grouping there's a group, if I could only spell, grouping in the 75 to 88 range. Okay. So are there any questions about how that works? We look at the data, we put it on the graph, and we just talk about it, right? That's it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do number 6 then. Okay. Same thing. I want you to graph the points, and then after you graph the points, try to answer ABCD or ABC, and then we'll talk about it. So we'll just all graph together, but I'll give you some time. Okay, it should look like that, right? Ish.
Yeah.
So what kind of association is that?
It's like no or negative.
Negative association. Okay. And how do we know that? Because as one thing increases, the other thing decreases. Remember, that's the rule for a negative association. One of them increases, the other decreases. Okay. Does the graph appear to have any outliers? No, not really. I can't see any. What about clustering?
Yeah.
There's a high group and a low group. There's really nothing in between. Nothing from like 5 to 13. It's just kind of blank in between those two. So you could say that there's maybe 2 groups, a group that is 1 to 3, and then another group that is 14 to 20, and this is days. Okay? Any questions? Or is it okay? Yeah?